And welcome back to episode 57 of the Football Fanatic podcast. This is the Christmas special, so we said that we would make it extra special, and we brought back from the dead Luke Kelly. Luke, how the hell are you? Are you a
Greetings,
hairy
greetings,
bastard? How are
gentlemen.
you getting on?
Yeah, I've been out there in the ether searching for hot takes and
Oh, that's the
great
God, yeah.
opinions, so I'm good to go.
Good. Glad to have you back, Kieran. You've been doing well.
Doing very well, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Keeping busy, yeah. Working on my hobbies and my pastimes in the
You set
meantime.
you set up your own podcast, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I'll always take a chance to plug my own media empire.
Good.
Got a podcast about AI. It's called Enough About AI. If you're interested in AI, then I've got a podcast for you, basically.
Does it have many, like, did you get any much traction on it, or is it a bit of a, you know, whatever you
An
want to
acquired
call it?
taste.
Yeah.
In a head-to-head with Enough About AI versus FFP, I
Out of
think we
curiosity, how many viewers do you have on each episode, Kier?
look, we don't get into that. Like it's not about numbers game for
All
us.
right,
You
so you have
know,
about 60. Fair
about
enough.
vibes, you know.
Yeah, we average about 100, 1003, 1004, whatever.
Come here, can I ask you, are you picking out the flaws of it? Is it just a general conversation, or are you kind of what side are you on, or
A, a general introduction for
okay.
anyone who knows this kind of woolly thing called AI, but what does it actually mean and what's the history of it? So the guy I'm doing it with, Donald Mulligan, he's a lecturer in Dublin City University, and he really is I think the expert on it of the two of us anyways, but he really is very well versed in all things. So he's able to give in a very concise fashion the history of AI stretching back to principles and methods devised in ancient Greece all the way up to now and the modern computing that powers AI. So it's a bit of a whirlwind. So yeah, I can
Have
only
you
recommend it if you're interested in all things tech,
have
history,
you done many
science,
episodes?
computers. We made 7 episodes, 6 or 7 episodes for this season or a season. I'm not sure what we'll do if we'll do a second yet. But yeah, it's been
Very good.
interesting.
All right. Okay, well, listen, we'll get to the main topic of conversation, which is football. And a busy weekend of it. We have a happy face and Dan. We have a sad face and Mossy. We have a fucking depressed face and myself. And we will get to City, United, and Liverpool as we speak. We'll start with Spurs and Liverpool, given that it was a 9 goal. I wouldn't call it a 9 goal thriller, but it was definitely an entertaining game for the neutral, anyways. I thought Liverpool they they could have had more than six if we're honest. I thought they were fantastic. I thought Trent really showed kind of what he's all about yesterday. And if he is to go, Liverpool do have big shoes to fill in that area. Um, yeah, I suppose Dan, what did you think? I mean, what has been the secret of your season to date? Because I won't say it's been perfect, but it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I suppose probably a few different things. Cam comes to mind being one of them. I think the season just in general has kind of gone Cam without too many. I know the contract talk maybe being the one kind of thing that's in the
Yeah,
atmosphere there. What's going to happen with the three players, Trent, Van Dijk, and Salah? But there's been a calmness to their play, calmness to the way they've gone about their business. And probably in particular, I think in the last, say, maybe 5 or 6 weeks since I suppose City have fallen off the wagon and Arsenal kind of been a bit patchy. Liverpool have been getting the titles and they're
yeah.
the ones to beat, and I don't feel that it's at the moment anyway. It's in any way impacted them at all. I think they've just gone about their business, um, the way that they hasn't that tagline hasn't seemed to impact them too much. If anything, I think they're relishing it, which is good to see. Yeah, Slot has done an
Do,
amazing job. Go on, yeah.
actually, onslaught. Like,
Mm.
do you think any manager could have gone in there and it was just really set up for like there was no kind of crisis at that club. It was left in a really good position by Klopp. So I mean, do you think any manager could have come in, or has Slot done anything specifically to that team?
Yeah, I think no. I tell you what. I think if you had gone maybe a maybe more established name,
Yeah,
it would have come with more pressure.
true.
So I would think with the fact that Slot has come in, kind of under the radar, maybe expectations were
Yeah,
quite low. They were for me. I think a lot of Liverpool fans I was talking to, we weren't expecting a great deal. Given the name, he wasn't at the top of the list. So if you remember, it was Xabi Alonso was kind of he
yeah.
was the one. And I think if he had come in, it would have been a different atmosphere around the place altogether. So I'd say, look, given that he's coming into a settled side, when you look at maybe some of the Man United takeovers or different teams where managers have come into clubs, and it's been in a bit of disarray. Even when Pochettino came into Chelsea, for example, as well, where Slot kind of came into a near enough settled squad to a point.
Yeah.
Klopp had already kind of he'd re-energized the midfield. He got younger legs into the side. And Slot has kind of, I suppose, taken over maybe where Klopp was. If you think about last season again, like we were only within a few weeks of potentially winning the title last season. So, and that's the majority of that squad were still there. That Slot was taking inheriting. But I still think it'd be unfair to kind of say like, oh well, he inherited a decent squad, so that means that you should be going and running amok and really, be up there challenging. I think it was not just the squad that he inherited, but also given what a figure Klopp was for Liverpool
Yeah.
to be coming into that team. So I think he's done an exceptional job. Himself and Maresca, I think the two of them, considering what they've done in the short space of time,
Yeah,
has
true.
been exceptional. And look, the other side of it is that they have been gifted a bit of where there's been a drop off, massive drop off with City and Arsenal, kind of just going through maybe patchy at times. Where Liverpool have kind of stayed pretty much steady, I think, the whole way through. It's been steady Eddie, I think. Yesterday, first half, I agree with you. They were exceptional. I think they kind of took the foot off the gas. They've done a couple of games where they've kind of maybe got themselves into a bit more trouble than they needed. Even Southampton in the Carabao Cup during the league was the same. They were comfortable and then suddenly give away a sloppy goal and the game can change like that. But yeah, just so I suppose I've answered kind of your question on
Yeah. Just I
Liverpool anyway.
suppose what you got with Salah as well, he kind of leaves fans kind of thinking, wondering what is actually going to happen. Like he had another kind of cryptic message after the weekend as well, didn't he? I don't remember it word for word, but basically he hasn't said yes, he hasn't said no. No,
Hmm.
are you any clear as to what's going to happen with him?
I don't know, for whatever reason, I feel that Van Dijk and Salah are done and they're waiting on Trent, to be honest. And I could be
Really?
wrong. That's my feeling on it. Yeah, yeah, is that the other two are pretty much done and dusted. The talk was that Van Dijk came back early during the international break to sign his,
Okay.
and that was the first part of it. And then Salah had, I don't know if you've seen the white smoke Instagram post that he had around there was talk that he'd been offered the contract for 2 years. And look, again, he didn't give too much away. He didn't say too much yesterday in the aftermath of the game. But I just have this feeling that he's saying put two and that they're pretty much, near enough done. And it's the Trent one is the one that they're kind of waiting on to see if they can announce it. I still have this weird feeling that it could be Christmas. We must have talked about it a couple of weeks ago. That there'll be a little boy sitting down there. A little video will come out on Liverpool's page of a little boy sitting down there to open his presents, and he's going to open up, and it's going to be three contracts sitting there all signed. I don't know if you've seen Jota's comment in the lead up to the game yesterday. Did you see that? No, did you catch?
No, go on.
They were doing this kind of thing where you had to pick out of a hat a player, what present you get from them based on the player. And Jota said a pen so Trent can sign his new contract. So again, you just wonder, is there kind of something in line with that
Yeah.
conversations coming out, and again, it's hard to know what to believe, but that a club had offered him double his wages, which was around the 250 mark, but he's looking for 350. In my head, if he could negotiate a 300 grand a week for him, given his age profile, I would be trying to sign him up. But like I
Yeah.
still feel it's a good bit of money considering I think what he brings, as good as it is, if I was to compare it to Salah and Van Dijk, he'd still be third on my pecking order who I'd be signing up.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. Now, Moss, Kieran, I'll come to you on Spurs. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get week by week. I mean, they kind of destroyed us City a few weeks ago, and deservedly so. Whereas yesterday they got destroyed. It's hard to know. Jamie Carragher is very, very kind of critical of Postecoglou and his not reluctance. He just refuses to change his tactics. And you can admire that to an extent, but like surely you have to be kind of manage the game, manage the opposition. I mean Spurs, like you get the feeling like they could do something under Postecoglou, but is it naivety or what is it that like they'll win one week but then they'll lose the next week, and I mean you genuinely don't know what you're going to get from them. So lads, if you've any comment to add to that, Kieran, you have a lot to say on Postecoglou in the past.
It's just who we are, mate. It's just what it is.
Very good.
I've been given the season, I've been a preacher of Ange Ball since day one, and in some ways
Yeah.
he is the savior, he is the chosen one. Um, no, I think with Spurs, they probably need a bit more pragmatism in how he manages it. It's all full throttle football, and when it works, it's
Yeah.
great. Beat City in the League Cup and in the league. but then they ship 6 goals at home, I think, for the first time since 1997. So it's obviously not working. But it's I do wonder if Postecoglou was at a different club where there was perhaps even different support systems, because I think time and time again with Spurs that the Spursy cliche is so for a reason, because the way the club is run,
Yeah.
there's not much strength and depth. So that's why you have I forget how to pronounce his name, the Romanian buck at centre back, and next to Archie Gray, bought from Leeds in the summer, and between them they played only a handful of games. Their combined age is something like 37, something like this.
Oh,
Not much experience, but they're the options that Postecoglou was forced into for playing Liverpool yesterday, because they haven't got that strength and depth. Now, at the other side of things, he's managed the transition out of Harry Kane fantastically,
yeah. Good
and
point.
Kulusevski is having the game
I
of the
think,
season of his
honestly,
life.
yeah, he's fantastic.
I
I think
think
City, I think City need to make a move there. We need to hoover up any type of good talent that may come to City. Anyways, go ahead, Kieran, keep going.
your true mercenary traits are coming out now.
Couldn't give
Times
a
are
shit.
tough.
Couldn't give a shit. We need help. We need help. We'll get
And
on to that.
you had help, but you sold them all, Lavia, Palmer, Morgan Rogers, and so on.
Yeah,
But no, just like to finish up on Spurs, I think Postecoglou is trying to do something, but he's also leaning too heavily on this kind of, I don't know, rock and roll idea that he's trying to practice. Like, now he does make some interesting points that this is entertainment at the end of the day, and are
yeah,
you not entertained? But I think
yeah.
for Spurs fans, the winds are not going in the right direction, and I think it's a matter of time before their will might finally snap for good. But then again, he might go out and beat Arsenal 4-0, and then he'll be fine again for another while. So I don't know where it's going to go, but it definitely is entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, is he under pressure, Moss?
Well, when you've got Levy behind you who likes to get trigger happy and
Yeah,
throw money at the issue, you never really know how secure your job is. But to invest like this summer, they took their eye off the ball and intended strengthening the team that they were going to be playing this year, and we're looking towards the future. Buying teenagers like Archie Gray and Bergwell and all these boys that are 17, 18, 19. And what's the point in investing in the future with a manager to then abandon that halfway through a season when it's not going well? Spurs
yeah,
wanted good football after a Conte and all the and Nuno, and they hated that style. So now they have one of the most entertaining managers in the league. They played best attacking team probably in the league in terms of Liverpool, and the most options with a centre midfielder playing the fullback Archie Gray, who's in his first season in the Premier League. You had Jed Spence playing on the wrong wing. You had Pedro Porro was only one out of their starting back line, and you had Fraser Foster, who is an old-fashioned shot stopper trying to play out from the back instead of Vicario.
yeah,
So, like, they have an awful lot of reasons to be questionable at the back currently when they're out facing Liverpool. Liverpool are probably the worst team for them to be facing at the minute. And they still have a bit of a sting in the tail. Like you knew for a fact they were never coming back into that game. They were never going to win it. But they still created 3 good goals, scoring opportunities. They scored 3 against United in the Carabao Cup. They were 3 up. And they have that Spursy weakness of being open and one mistake, and then suddenly, like, you could have won that game,
yeah,
other than their own keeper having a howler. So, like, for Ange, I feel like Ange is a winning mentality in a club that just doesn't have that. And
Mhm.
he wants to win, he's driven to win, and he's a winner. And you can see
yeah.
by him that it hurts him when they show up these performances. But he's trying to, more than Amaranth United, you're trying to find against culture that's embedded
Mhm.
in the club.
Yeah, true. With the Carabao Cup, what's the semi-final lineup?
Tottenham, Liverpool, and
All right.
Newcastle. So Liverpool, they'll have another bite at the cherry, and I
That could be
imagine it'll be a
interesting.
slightly weakened Liverpool team, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, he's called it himself. He always wins trophies in his second season now. It's a dangerous
Mm,
thing to do, but he's manifesting a League Cup win for Spurs
yeah,
this year.
The most
yeah,
realistic option.
yeah, like they are missing 10 players. I think it was 10
Mhm.
first team players that they're missing. I think Bentacore actually gives them a bit as well in the middle. Like he got a ban for, I think it's the racial abuse on, was it, or
Mhm.
his
Yes.
own, was it
Yeah,
his own? Yeah.
absolutely.
I think he actually is important enough to them. Plus their defenders. Like if you look at some of the goals Liverpool scored yesterday when they were flying through and goal under their end pace, you probably wouldn't have it, as easy as gilt edge chances as they had. But he seems to be one that's picked up a couple of injuries in his time there. That's a kind of supposed to be a question mark around maybe
Yeah.
his ability to stay fit. But I don't know. There's this feeling around. I think that there is a bit of pressure brewing for him.
Mm.
I kind of felt that if they had a loss against Man United in the cup during the week, that he could have got a bit more. There could be a bit more coming his way. I know they bet Southampton the week previous, but he has kind of been coming under it a bit definitely within the media. And I think I was talking to a friend of mine whose family is married into are all Spurs fans, Spurs season ticket holders, and they've had enough of him. So it's one of them. I think it's going to divide opinion with where do you go, who else do you go to? As Massey said there, like they're after playing a heap of youths. I don't think they envisioned that they'd have to play most of it this early on and players be starting of it. But like there's no doubt that there's good players in that side.
Of course.
But like when going to that game on Sunday, they're a team that any of us would be happy to play against. Even when City went there a couple of weeks ago, and no one envisioned that Spurs would do what they did to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, even though City were going through a bit of a run, you think they're lined up perfectly for the likes of the City. They're lined up perfectly for the likes of Liverpool to play. So that one style, I suppose, that one style approach that he has, especially against maybe teams that are tactically savvy. He's going to come unstuck in a lot of them games. So where even now, where do you think Spurs will, best case scenario, finish? I think they'd be doing well if they manage the way, when you look at some of the other teams, the way they're performing and how they seem to be able to adapt tactically. I think he'd be lucky to get Europe again, personally.
Yeah, no. Fair point. All right, so next game, top of the table, was Palace versus Arsenal being top of the table. 5-1 Arsenal. They lost Saka, but all in all, it was an important victory because Liverpool are starting to create a little bit of a gap. I'm of the opinion that like if Arsenal are going to do it, it has to be this season, because I do see Chelsea. I don't see them properly challenging this season, but I do see them kind of being there next season, perhaps another season under Maresca's belt. I would hope the City reinvest and come again. Liverpool, I would imagine, like keeping the likes of Van Dijk and Salah, whatever about Trent, they will invest. So I just have a feeling that Arsenal, if they're gonna strike, I think it needs to be this season. But something inside me says it's not going to be. I just get the feeling, because Arteta's been there for 5 years now, and I mean, maybe 2 years ago he had created this kind of title challenging team, but I mean it's 2 years later, and I mean they're still, in my opinion, like they're still not there. And if they're going to kind of, if he's going to justify the last 5 years' work, I know he won the FA Cup and all that, but I think the team he has, the investment he's made in that team, and they've come a long way. But I think it has to be this season, because I think Chelsea are going to be there next season, as will Liverpool. Hopefully City will be back. Amarin's trying to build at United. Other teams are improving. I just think that it needs to be this season. Sorry, why are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at you even considering United in that discussion.
Look, I mean, we'll get to United. We'll get to United in a sec. But on Arsenal, do you share that opinion that like it needs to be this season, or how do you see them going this season?
I don't see it being have to be the season, and to be honest, I don't see it being the season. They've been stop-start. They're not creating enough in front of goals. Sometimes they can surprise you. Maybe the Saka injury might vary their attack more and give them more options and whatever. But Gabriel, he's out injured. That's a big loss, and I just think they're conceding goals that they weren't last year. And when you're not free scoring, look, they had a good game here, and eventually they started scoring from play again, but like Dan said it earlier under the year that you don't win it by Christmas, but you can be out of it by Christmas. And I feel like they're in consistent form, and just the consistency of Liverpool and the quality of changes that and strength that they have, combined with the very clever tactical changes that they're able to make mid-game, just puts them on a whole different level. And Arsenal went back, I suppose, to more free flow, and they weren't as pragmatic against Palace, and they got the reward for it. They were more attacking and weren't really ready to sit back, but they conceded a lot more chances. Like they easily could have conceded 3 goals in that game. And I just feel that there's just something not quite there. It's like the pressure of feeling like this was their year has got to them, and everything was extra loaded, and the decisions that went against them have played on the psyche a little bit, and they're fighting an uphill battle.
I do think that this is their year, especially given what City are going through. And I suppose Liverpool have improved and they've definitely kind of no, nobody. I don't think a lot of people would have seen Liverpool as proper title contenders, given that Slot came in, Klopp left. But they surprised everyone, and they are, and they're top of the table, rightly so. But I just get the feeling that this had the makings of right. This is Arsenal's year. They came so close, and they're there for the taking. City 4 in a row. Could they possibly do five? Like eventually they were gonna run out of steam, and I don't think anyone envisaged how much they would run out of steam. Um, but yeah, I just get the
There is
feeling
no
like
steam.
there's nothing
There's
running
no
on
saying.
fumes at this stage.
Energy
Um,
transferring to electric solar power.
oh,
Nothing into
stop. But I don't know, Kieran, what do you think of Arsenal in Howard's place? What do you think?
I will shill for Arsenal. Um, I think with Arsenal, Arteta was building a team, defenders, midfielders, humming very nicely. But I think the investments or gambles or chances they've taken on the forwards that they've brought in haven't come to fruition. So you have Gabriel Jesus. He loves this time of year. He's scoring again, but that's out of normality for him. He hasn't become the 20 goal a season striker they wanted him to be. Kai Havertz identity crisis. Is he a striker? Is he a midfielder? He hasn't delivered on that front for Arsenal either. And Martinelli as well. I mean, where he was 2, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
he's kind of in stasis. He hasn't progressed onwards and become that kind of attacking threat off the wing that, again, contributing 10, 20 goals a year, he's still stop start. So in that department, and now you have Saka out, and it's time to unleash Raheem, but he's not going
Raheem's
to
also
be.
out.
He's
Well,
also
then
out.
He's
there
a
you
knee
go.
injury, so he's now. I was just confirmed today he's going to be out till March.
Oh yeah, he was. I think he was never in, to be honest, as well. But that
True,
forward line
true.
is not meeting the expectations of what Arsenal require. So no, it's not going to be this season. Their form to date has shown that it's not going to be this season. It's too inconsistent. As Dan, I think said, or Monty, sorry, said that they're shipping goals at the back that they didn't let in
Mm.
last year. There's just less control, and if Odegaard is to be injured or otherwise for even a handful of games, we saw how
Uh,
immediate that impact was when he was taken out of the team. So I don't think this is going to be the year. They may come second if things stay the way they are and Liverpool continue on in their form. I think Arsenal might run second, but I wouldn't see it being close. But that's based on current predictions. They could solidify and cement and go forward.
we will see. Yeah,
Can I just say this?
yeah, go ahead.
Given their like the age, the reason I was asking why you thought this had to be this year, just given the age of their side, I just thought that there's no reason why they shouldn't still be. There's years in that team to compete and
There
challenge
is
it.
time. I just given the circumstances of this season, like like given City's fall off, um, I just thought that kind of they would have taken that opportunity and ran with it, but inconsistency as you have said. So I do think that they need to really kind of have a really good second half of the season because Liverpool don't look like slipping up. That they will have a blip somewhere, but yeah, Arsenal will need to be near perfect. Um okay, Aston Villa 2, Man City 1. Um I've lost count of what games we're at now, to be honest, of
Can I
when the
can I just
last.
ask a question?
Go
Because
ahead, why not?
how are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right. I've been off for a few weeks. I took a trip to America.
Running
I'm
away from your problems?
running away from my problems. One of them being Man City. I don't know. It's crazy because I don't buy into this thing. I do think that there's something going on behind the scenes. I have no idea what it is. I mean, you mentioned there a few weeks ago, Kieran, that did they get word of the outcome of the 115 charges and has if it is a negative outcome, like is that seeping through the team? Very possible.
All conspiracy chatter, of
Of
course,
course,
Matt,
yeah.
but maybe, yeah, something.
Um, there's that angle to it. There's the angle that basically, it's an aging team, which it is. But I was talking to Dan about this over the weekend, and he made a very valid point that, like, regardless of injuries to a few certain players, I mean, there are still enough good players in that team
To
to
win a
like,
game.
of course, absolutely 100% to win a fucking game. I mean, some of the games that we've lost in the last few weeks, some of the results, like giving away three to Sport or not to Feyenoord being 3-0 up. I mean, they're doing things that like you haven't seen him do in a long, long time. And this is before Abu Dhabi came along. This is like back in the olden days when we were shit. And yeah, I can't explain it. Only like Rodri being out, yes, that's a factor, but it's a very small factor. I don't think it's people are saying like him being out is the main reason. Not at all. Like there's so many players underperforming, confidence being an issue. You saw Haaland at the weekend, kind of saying that blaming himself. Bernardo Silva saying they're in a dark place. Lots of different things
Can,
going
can I
on. Yeah, go ahead.
can I just say that if there was going to be a goal that would signify Man City at the moment, it was Rodgers. The second goal that Villa got at the weekend, I think, actually signified it.
Yeah,
A Walker mistake. Nobody in midfield, nobody tracking the runner. There's just mistakes everywhere. No intensity. If you think back to like City under Pep, and he's done this
yeah.
at Barcelona and wherever he's been. Second that Rodgers is getting away, he's getting clipped, he's getting pulled down.
Mm.
There's a cynical foul coming. There's no way he's just getting allowed to just waltz through the middle of midfield. And in that moment, you could just see like Gundogan trying to get back, not able to get back.
No, it's not able.
It just nearly, I think, the goal that signified it, and third of others, but just that one stood out for me. Given the frailties that are on display, like Rodgers wouldn't be getting away there on a
Yeah.
City team that are on it. He's getting pulled down. He's getting either intercepted, but usually it's a cynical foul to stop a counter attack, and they're not getting anywhere near doing that. And
Yeah.
having for what are we on now? It's 13, 14 games that haven't been at it,
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Their heads
Here,
are gone.
the heads are completely gone. I mean, the confidence is gone. There's individual mistakes running throughout the team, especially Ederson, who has been excellent for a long, long time. I mean, he really has fallen off the wagon this season. Ortega actually came in and made a fantastic save at the weekend. Now credit to Villa, they were excellent. They ran us into the ground. Haaland is not getting a service. When he does get the service, he's not taking them. What else? De Bruyne, who was on the bench, didn't even get a look in at the weekend. Foden's season hasn't started. Walker has off the field issues, but I mean, look, all players
Hasn't he
have.
always?
He's always had off the field issues, and he
Yeah,
still managed to play all the rest of the time. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Gary Neville made a point there a few weeks ago, and whether it's valid or not, I mean, you can have a player in their 30s playing in the game, be it De Bruyne, but when you have other players in their 30s as well playing in the team, Gundogan 34, De Bruyne is going to be 34 in a few months, Walker's 34, the likes of Bernardo Silva, who's been there for numerous seasons, I think 8 years now, and just giving his all every season, they're bound to, it was bound to kind of come to a halt at some stage, but I just don't think anybody expected it to come to such a screeching halt and literally a car crash, you know.
But it
What
also,
do
Jack, it
what
looks
do
like
you make of it?
Pep has lost his head.
Of
Like
course
Pep
he's
looks
lost. Look at the scratches on his face there a few weeks ago.
like
Jesus
as a
Christ.
manager who's supposed to be cool, calm, collected, or
Yeah,
at least keep composure. When he's talking to the media at this stage, he looks like a broken man. Like he
yeah,
looks like someone has
Doesn't
stole
know
his
what to
family
do.
and he's never going to see them again, and he has to pay millions or something to get them off. He just looks like you took him straight off the set of a movie. Like,
yeah.
and
Maybe that's what's
he's
going on behind the scenes, Moss.
maybe that's what it is. 115 million back or something. But like, I don't know. He just does. It doesn't strike me as a man who's in control of the situation. And for someone who controls and demands control of every minute detail on a pitch,
Yeah.
to seem so helpless and lost is just shocking. And after signing a new contract,
Mm.
you kind of thought that would reassure everyone. I heard an interesting theory. Again, it's conspiracy style, but maybe the players are sick of listening to Pep and his demands,
I
and
thought
that
that
the
one too, yeah.
signing of the contract was a reinforcement that they were stuck with him for another while. But I don't buy into that. If you've had success as a manager, as much success as him, then you see that there's merit in his standards. But
Yeah. I
I
don't know.
think an awful lot of it comes down to confidence, Tech. I think an
Of
awful
course.
lot of it's down to confidence.
I'm reading a bit into, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but like the decision to kind of have De Bruyne back on the bench at the weekend, I do think that like both of them have come to have had words behind the scenes as well. Like, and I'd say he has probably fallen out with a few of the players over the last few months. And there probably is like, obviously we're not going to find out who they are or what they are, but I'd say there's in-house fighting going on as well. And yeah, I'd say it's not good. And I'd say a number of players they will leave. Like Walker, I think he's out of contract in the summer. You'd imagine he'll be gone. De Bruyne will likely be gone. Um, yeah, Gundogan, I
For
thought coming
January, Tech,
back.
have you heard any talk of
I am
potential
Bruno
incomings?
Gomes will be is like supposedly the number one target, and I would absolutely love that. He's a workhorse. He's tenacious. He's the type of player that we need. He has energy. he works, he's tireless. But I mean, again, like, are we going to actually forget that? Take Newcastle or take him. Like, does he want to go to a club if the decision about the 115 charges isn't released by then? Is he walking into a club that's going to be relegated within 2 months of him arriving? So, I mean,
And that's
players
a
are,
real concern.
yeah, are
Yeah.
players actually going to be willing to come to us in January, or will we have to wait till the summer until all of that stuff is kind of
And
finished?
this here, it's an interesting one you brought up there because it's like, it's amazing that it's coincided with the trial coming to a close instead of
Yeah.
you falling off the wagon. You just would wonder, if they're in there and they are debating as to what to do or what is the best point, of response if they are found guilty. Like, there is a potential that they could go transfer embargo route, and that actually would fuck City up pretty badly because they wouldn't be
Oh
able to buy
God, yeah,
anyone.
yeah, absolutely.
If they were going to punish them where they don't relegate them, could they stop them from buying players
I
and
would
maybe implement
really,
a points
yeah,
deduction? But
absolutely.
I'm just thinking, like, what were the if they that wasn't the extreme, but if they did something like that would actually be detrimental at the moment, considering what we're just talking about with
Of
players
course.
moving on, players out of contract. They don't, for whatever reason, I know they. I think you said it there, Kieran, that they've sold an awful lot of the academy players.
Mhm.
But even some of the ones that were getting a look in a few weeks ago, he's not even giving them a game now. He's still kind of sticking to, I suppose, the seasoned professionals that aren't doing it. He's not even giving. There's a
Yeah,
couple of them lads that he kind of was given minutes, a few minutes to.
yeah.
He's not even. I think he's,
James McAtee. I
that's
mean, he
it. Yeah,
was at the
actually,
start of the
yeah.
season, but he's
Um,
nowhere to be seen now at the moment. So I don't know.
but you
They
just,
might
yeah.
they
Well,
might be victims of their own success in that for those 2015, 16 up to 22, 3, they were so in
Oh,
control that,
100%.
that they
Guardiola.
yeah,
didn't, and that makes it logical then that why would you give someone like Cole Palmer more
Of
time than you
course.
already have? But underneath the glistening shiny top, there was a rotting structure underneath that wasn't apparent until the water has subsided a bit, and now its rotty core has come to the fore.
Very good.
but
No, but
it is the question though. Like Massey's talking about there, like if this was any other manager,
Yeah.
given the fact as well that there's just been
oh, he'd be gone. Of
we
course
haven't
he'd be
seen
gone.
any change though. Like, considering
Yeah,
his profile of manager and all that he's accomplished, you're
yeah.
looking at it going, hasn't even tweaked anything really, has he? Like it's like he's just going
No,
out, as Massey said there, going to the media then talking about it's my fault, trying to take, I suppose, a lot of the blame off his players, who, as I said, and already have they're failing him. There's too many good players there to not be able to pull a result there or
of
even
course,
score a goal.
absolutely,
They're
absolutely.
not. They're just. They're like, the shell definitely of their former selves. But how do you rekindle that? Like, it is they could go splash a load of money at it. Well, that solved the problem. We don't know. Like how do they?
Well,
They
they
just
definitely, you
they
definitely
need
need
to
to kind of.
dig in and get a result. They need to get one result where they dig in and get a result that gets points on the
Mhm.
board
Yeah,
and
but we
start
got
from
that,
there.
Moss. We beat Nottingham Forest 3-0 a couple of weeks ago. Nottingham Forest are like they're in fourth. They're
True.
Yeah, but
doing
then
all
you had
right,
to
all right.
collapse
Like,
for 3 or 4 games in a row. Like you,
wow.
you need a start with that, get a bit more solid, try and get the defense somewhat sorted, and then start building from there. Phil Foden is starting to show glimpses of touches and movement
Glimpses,
that he
yeah.
was doing. That if you could get him keep going in the right direction, then it'll come. Like, there's all the potential there for that team to get grind out 2 or 3 results and start to get a bit of confidence back and start to get a bit of pep in their step and improve. But currently looking at it, you just don't know where that's going to come from. And I can see why Pep is going back to what he's done for years and why he's tweaking. It's why he's one of the most successful managers of the modern age in football. And like he's looking at this, never experienced this kind,
Yeah.
probably as a player or a manager, this kind of um disastrous run. So he just looks completely lost in that and doesn't seem to know how to deal with it. And when you can publicly see that,
Yeah.
it's worrying.
Yeah. I mean, he's gonna earn his paycheck now, definitely. Like if he turns this around, like it will be brilliant to see, obviously, from a City point of view. But I mean, he's gonna have to, put everything he kind of knows about being a manager, being a coach, everything, all his experience into fixing this because it is a mess. Um,
Can
all
I
right.
just say on Villa
Yeah.
before we move on, that they were absolutely
They're
scintillating to
brilliant.
watch.
They're
They were
brilliant.
brilliant.
Absolutely.
And Emery has done, like, I know they haven't been consistent in the league this year, but what he's done, he took them from relegation candidates
Mm.
to top 8 in the Champions League, and the football they're playing and the recruitment, bringing in players like Rodgers and stuff from
Yeah.
Middlesbrough and stuff, it's just been top notch. And uh, I'm as a Villa fan, and people, there's a lot of people who suffered a long time as Villa fans. They're really starting to reap the rewards of having a top class manager in there.
Yeah, I agree with that. Moss, we'll stick with you because we're going to move on to Man United versus Bournemouth. 0-3. What was like was this kind of run of results in Amorim's first few games expected, or do you think that they have fallen further?
Oh, I definitely don't think they've fallen apart. I wouldn't have like that squad and the mentality of that team and the shit show that is the club behind it is. I don't think you could bring anyone in the world and it's going to be fixed straight away. I love his approach. I love the way he communicates to the media. Um, I can see glimpses of what he's trying to do on the pitch. There's already more of a structure than there ever was under Ten Hag. Their underlying numbers and possession, chances created are all up since he's taken on board. But there's individual mistakes repeatedly, again and again, game after game, that are costing absolutely ridiculously soft goals. You just cannot gift teams goals. Like we were very much in the game of Bournemouth. They got a free kick out in the near the right hand corner that was swept in, and Xerxes just lost his man, and they scored from
Yeah,
it. And you just knew, like we were great chances, but unless we equalise soon, they're an excellent team. They've a great squad depth. They've super forwards. Evan Nielsen was excellent in connecting the play. Maybe not goal scoring, but he was fantastic for them. And the penalty was given away, which it was 100% penalty
I
by
absolutely.
Mazraoui. And they went 2-0 up. There is still that fragility of they crumble when they concede a goal. It happens against Spurs. They went from being 2 to 3-0 as he was trying to make changes to try and get them back into the game. And they conceded two quick fire goals here again from their own errors and bad positioning. And I don't know how you coach that lack of game
Yeah,
awareness or positional awareness into players who are at a professional age and have been doing this for years. I think you have to get a point to your question. Are these players capable of implementing or playing at this level to do the basics that they're expected to do?
yeah,
And there's repeat offenders in there throughout the season who have positionally been in the wrong place, particularly as defenders. And like Dallo is one who's has done it a lot for as many good attributes as he has. His position play or switching off has been a mistake. Martinez was again very lax and has been poor in this three at the back system, which really should complement his ability to play out from the back. And look, Bournemouth deserved to win. United were poor, but he's 9 games in charge of the team. In those 9 games, the director Dan Ashford has been fired. Rashford and Garnacho got dropped. To then Rashford doing a media statement within 2 days, complaining about it essentially. And he's only he's 6 weeks in the job, and there's already two different fires outside of just putting players on the pitch. Like there is
it
so
is.
many
Yeah,
issues at
yeah,
that club. Like it's more than just him. I think he's doing what he has. He's taken this season is look. These are the players I have. Who's going to cut it? And I can't see it being much more than that with the group that is there and the lack of team that is there. People are giving out about rotation. I think he's trying to give everyone an opportunity, and let them make their case. And a lot of them just are throwing away the opportunity. But two of our best paid players are two of our top, Rashford and Casemiro are two of our best paid players, and they're not even in the starting team, not being brought on. So like
yeah,
you can see straight away he's trying to change the profile of the squad and stuff like that. But like
yeah. And I suppose my point is like he should be given that chance. And I mean, every manager kind of will have their way of doing things, and I suppose he does. You can see he wants to change the culture of the club, absolutely. But that's a long kind of that'll take time to do.
So did the other managers though as well. Just
100%. Yeah, they've all
like
tried
it's
to do that, and I suppose it's the same thing. Will he be given the time to do that, or will the players throw him under the bus as previous managers? So I mean, Kieran, I'm curious, what do you think of the United situation?
The Manchester United psychodrama is
Yeah,
entered into its what 11th season now. It's endlessly entertaining.
yeah.
And it's another club that has a rotten core that is being revealed time and again.
Relax there, lad.
Well, both clubs in Manchester, I suppose you want to say it. Um, I have a lot of hope for Ruben Amorim. I saw him in Sporting Lisbon a couple of years ago. I said back then this man will go on to great things. No, um, I like his approach. I think he's a nice persona, but you're also dealing with a squad of overpaid players and hodgepodge signings over a couple of different managers and this
Yeah.
has all been jumbled together into a squad that is over reliant on a couple of big names who are also not performing and have seem to have no interest in in performing. So I think this year is all about just consolidation for Amarin and maybe trying to either move on or coach the badness and those sloppiness out of players and start building his own squad because if he's to be given time to implement his project and his vision of what he wants to do with it, that's going to take a lot of time to get
That's gonna take
players.
a couple of seasons, like let's be honest.
Yeah. So I don't think they're realistically in with a shout of the Premier League title in the next 3 years. I mean, it's all about just marginal gains and progress over
Yeah.
the next few years, winning the big games, maybe a cup victory here and there, and also just improving. And it's not just his job, but improving and fixing the structure, and that's up to Uncle Jim. As well, but he's also going to seemingly fire half the club in the process.
And when you said fixing, you have to fix the roof as well. You
Yeah,
went to see it see it the weekend,
and the
or
press conference room. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
or
So
Be
ceiling.
careful there now. Be careful there now. Jim will fix it. Be careful what you're saying there now, Declan.
Yeah. Well, come here now, Dan. Now no, it's your turn. What do you think of the whole thing?
No, I agree with what a lot of what Massey said there, just around the players that he's giving everyone a chance. He very much is. You can see that trying different players in different positions, in different roles. Some of them as well that maybe there was hope for the likes of Mount that was going to come in and maybe suit the
Yeah.
system straight away off the bat. He got injured. I presume one or two players that I forgot even still played for United, being honest. I forgot Lindelof was still there. He was one that actually, when he came
Oh,
back
okay.
into the side there a couple of weeks ago and got injured, nearly he came back in, but
Yeah,
I forgot he was
150 grand a week.
yeah, I forgot he was actually still there. I don't know whether or not that left back that Ten Hag signed is up to much. I know he was
Last year is not good enough. No.
yeah. So there's kind of like the fortunate thing is that I suppose again and it probably goes back to the summer when they gave Ten Hag the new contract and gave him the funds. When you look at what he's brought in, the majority there of it, you're looking at it already only a couple of months in, kind of saying it's probably not going to be good enough. And again, will it fit the system, the new system again now that the new manager has? So, look, it just seems we always go into the same kind of circle, don't
Yeah.
we? And we kind of are repeating ourselves around a lot of the same problems. It looks like a good move from the manager to kind of decide early on with Rashford, the likes of maybe Rashford, who's not going to suit any sort of system going forward anyway. And maybe Casemiro and him that he's made that decision very quickly. Whether or not it was nearly maybe made in the boardroom, you wonder as well. Was there already kind of when he was coming in, kind of murmurs as to right, this is part of what we're going to be doing here when you get in and clear a few of these lads out. It's getting them off the books now. We're talking to United fans about it, like Rashford's on 350 grand. It's going to potentially, you'd imagine, it's going to be another Santos situation where he's going to go out on loan with maybe an option to buy. But I don't see how anyone is going to come in and splash money and take Rashford off the books in January in particular, maybe the summer, but in January, it'll just be maybe just about clearing him out for a while. There's no doubt though that the new manager he's going to stick with his style. He's not going to change. But like I was listening to Neville. I think you heard him yesterday kind of talk about what his thoughts are on the players on the pitch and what he's kind of talked about there. I think he used words like mediocre. The performances have been very poor. Where the manager might be coming in and outlining a new style of play. The individual performances from an awful lot of the players has been poor. Bruno Fernandes again, another one that's always talked about. Read a thing to say about his data and his since he's come in, he's actually got worse in an awful lot of areas of his play than he was under Ten Hag.
I think that's
You
out of necessity then, though. Like
sorry,
because he doesn't have it's out of necessity. Bruno's been played in a deeper role, which
yeah, another 10, yeah,
Bruno's not designed to play in because he's too loose on the turn, and he is being played there because he needs a ball playing player midfield, which he
yeah.
doesn't have. So he's dropping him back and hoping that Ahmad can be that creative in the second 10. So like he is into it
There's
for that.
actually the one bright spark is the Ahmed player.
He has been, yeah. Well, I suppose that I'd argue.
Gareth is really coming into the fore. He's starting to put in monstrous performance in field. Took him off, conceded 2 goals against Bournemouth, like it was very apparent that we were much weaker without him. Like there are players that can step up to mark and are starting to, but there is also a cohort that need to leave the club or
But you could,
at
yeah, but the
least have
likes of him,
adjust their attitude.
yeah, I suppose, but him being, I suppose, the talisman, the best, the best player at United, like he has won that. He's been declining, like, and has been for even under the Ten Hag reign. He's not, he's the one I think that in particular the spark that you would hope for from a captain as well, and like, that's not there. Um, like they're definitely anyway. Look, he's going to need support in January, in the summer. It's too early days. I think it was always going to be inconsistent. Some of the results though are surprising. I did ask last week the question: with Beaton City, is this a platform to build, or will it be going back to the same old? And where we ended up is back at the same kind of where it was, maybe looking more now like a bit of a flash in the pan, maybe the two leg
To be
goals as
fair,
opposed
to
to
be
being,
fair, Dan,
you
that
know,
was exactly what I said to you. I reckon
yeah,
that we take our win and we would see where it went from there because the team is
and
too inconsistent.
yeah. But he needs time, and like we talked about that, like he came in at the end of an international break as well. There's, as you said, he's only working with them for a couple of weeks, and we don't know what's going on again behind the scenes there. I think I mentioned last week in the podcast, Rashford is out the door, but if you remember before, there was a lot of kind of people in certain camps, and there's a lot of cliques in that dressing room. So we don't know
Yeah.
what impact him getting the door is having internally with a lot of the senior players who've been around there a while with Rashford. So, that time will tell around whether or not to be a couple more maybe that might be kind of banished. But I kind of like that. Like Maresca done that, if you remember, at Chelsea, he just
Yeah.
kind of
He was
decided, like,
ruthless. Yeah.
you're not for me. And I think that is a sign of a manager who's going to kind of just set out his principles, set out who he likes, who he doesn't like. As you said there, Massey, like Ugarte can run. Like they need players that can run. There's too many of them that for too long have been not running and not doing even the bare minimum at the club. So it'll be interesting to see. But at the moment, you did actually struggle to say that they'll finish top half. I know, I mean, not being smart. Like you're looking at the moment, they're so inconsistent. Like there is potential there. Like I don't think that, at this stage, I don't think they definitely don't think they get Europe. But even with even make top half, there's an awful lot of sides that are at the moment anyway looking in much better shape than
Yeah.
than they are currently anyway.
Yeah, we will see what happens over the Christmas as well. A lot of games to be played. Right, results elsewhere. Leicester nil, Wolves 3, much needed win for Wolves. Ipswich nil, Newcastle 4. Newcastle are starting to put a good run together. West Ham 1, Brighton 1. Brentford nil, Notts Forest 2. Notts Forest they're doing well. I mean, they're up in fourth.
They're
Bournemouth
more
just
than well though.
just
Jesus.
yeah, Bournemouth just behind them in fifth. I mean, there's definitely a changing of the top six guard, perhaps. Everton nil, Chelsea nil, Fulham nil, Southampton nil.
And just on that, it just goes to
Yeah,
show though when you're well coached and you have a settled group,
100%.
because like Bournemouth and Fulham don't have any resources really, and
Fulham as well.
nor
Yeah,
do
so,
Forest. They don't spend a few pounds. In fairness, they have spent quite a bit, but like they're that's what you're looking at, and you can see a couple of them managers potentially maybe being in the market, maybe in the summertime for bigger
yeah,
jobs. Potentially, if they kind of come up, I think in particular, the Bournemouth manager could be one that's already been kind of talked of as maybe even getting a big job in Spain potentially, if one of
yeah,
them was to come up as well. So, yeah, I just on the Newcastle one, like Isaac, I don't see any of the goals. They're like Jacob Murphy, Isaac, like there's something kind of moving there again in a positive
yeah,
direction
definitely.
there for Newcastle, and Botman I think is back in train. He'll be back soon enough as well, which would be a massive positive for them too. So if they manage to go through January and keep their players, if they can keep momentum going, there, it's the kind of club that if they can get a run going, which they seem to be kind of getting into. And Isaac is just, I think, a phenomenal player. It'd be interesting to see can they hold on to him, because I think he's one in waiting for
Yeah,
one of the
absolutely.
big clubs to go for. Yeah,
I think
Um,
Tonali is very important there as well. He's been
I
moving
very
to a
good.
slightly more attacking position, and since they made that Eddie Howe made that move, he has been phenomenal. Like everything's going through him. Anytime he plays well, Newcastle win. So as
Yeah,
well
he's
as having
good.
a quality forward in Isaac,
do
Tonali
you
has been
remember?
absolutely important.
Do you remember what Howard said about Tonali
He
last
looked like
season?
somebody, wasn't it? He looked
He
like
looked
somebody.
he looked like Adam Driver because of his
He does.
chiseled cheeks.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
good.
He's a good player, though, Massey, isn't he? He
He's
is.
very good
An
player.
It
excellent
is.
player.
They have some
Yeah,
very, that's the thing, like they do have some very, very good
yeah.
players. Right, before we move on to fantasy football, and Dan will have a lot to say about fantasy football being top at Christmas. Is it an omen for May? Um, what do you call it? Before we move on to fantasy football, given it's this Christmas special, I have a few special questions, football related questions to ask. Just to add a little bit of comedy to the show. Now you don't know the questions, so obviously you have to think on the spot. So we'll start with Moss. So Moss, if you could go in with a two-footed challenge on a Liverpool or a City player, who would it be? Current. Why not? Yeah,
Kyle
current.
Walker.
Kyle
Kyle
Oh,
Walker.
Walker, two
Okay.
foot.
Why?
Because he's he's egotist. His ego needs to be fucking put in check. His dick needs to be put in check. His general well-being would be is not
Oh
something I'd be
shit.
very concerned about. So yeah, it's gonna be
It's
Kyle
like when
Walker.
the
for,
writing is
for
on the wall. Is when the writing is on the wall for Bruce just to put it out of his misery, you know.
Yeah,
yeah,
fair
it's like
point.
actually just for that dive he done last week alone, he deserved it, wouldn't
Yeah,
he?
that was a disaster. All right, cheers, Moss. And also in your playing career, have you ever gone into foot challenge?
I was a goalie, so I was always going for the ball.
If
You were in were you
I
injury prone? You had a bad ankle injury, didn't you?
ACL, did ACL. I did all the ligaments in my knee in one go.
Shite.
Um,
I'm a contemporary of Mossy's from the ADSL days from a few years ago, and when we went to battle against St. Joseph's, I remember fondly balls going over the top and Mossy charging from his line and taking man and ball.
Very
as you're
good.
supposed to do.
Very good. All right, cheers for that, Moss. Dan, we'll move on to you. So, Dan, if you had to be a slave for the rest of your life to either Ferguson or Guardiola, who would you pick?
Ferguson.
Why?
Um,
Would he be a good master, do you think? Or would he be a dick?
yeah, I think, yeah, let me see. No, I think Ferguson, yeah, I think like there's a chance that maybe Ferguson might change my tasks up, where Pep just keeps making me do the same fucking thing every day until they want to hack it.
Very good. All right, Kieran, next one. Hold on now. Kieran, what is the best goal you've ever scored?
Um, I can count on one hand the goals I've scored because I mostly
I
played
know.
football in football association and Gaelic football. But I did after my Hudson Bay days. I made the transfer to Cam. Celtic played in the Roscommon leagues, which is a different character of football or soccer
We've all
altogether.
plied our trade in that league at some
Yeah,
stage.
yeah. And I did moonlight as a central midfielder for Cam Celtic from time to time, off the bench. And one windy Saturday afternoon, in a Haskra there in
Oh
East,
yeah.
I came off the bench, and two successive corners. I made a dashing run to the near post and got my head on the ball in the same position, minutes after each other, and bagged my two only goals of my playing career, and I still remember them so fondly today, as you can see.
Center midfield.
Yeah, I
Wow.
actually, apart from my goal scoring prowess, I was actually quite good at breaking up players and slowing, generally
You were
throwing.
like a De Jong there, were you? A destroyer in the middle.
Yeah, well, if I could keep up with the other player, then I was, yeah.
Very good. Very good. All right, cheers for that, lads. Fantasy football. So we're not exactly halfway through, but we're nearly there. 17 games played. So leading into Christmas, we have Daniel Coulter as the leader. And is that an omen for what's going to happen in May? We will see. His brother Alex won fantasy football last year. So will he keep it in the family?
Mm.
Dan, let us know how the week has gone and how you feel nearly halfway through the season being on top.
Yeah, I used my wild card there last week to try and set me up for the Christmas period, so I'm kind of hoping that will work out. But it was a big week actually. My brother got the highest points tally I think over the course of the week. He got 105, and I had 101. He had I think most people kind of had Salah. There's a few there. Howard unfortunately went for Saka as his captain and got an awful doing. The Saka went off injured early.
Right.
And if I can imagine, I've been on that other side of it there, where when you've thought about captaining someone and captain somebody else, and then you're watching them score and assist, and it's all going, you're in for a red arrow come the end of the week. So most people in our fantasy league, the majority had Salah as captain. Thankfully, two of the nearest lads to me in our league both had Palmer, so made a kind of few inroads there. But he was kind of the standout as he has been for most of the season. With and then Isaac is another one that not a lot of people have put him in yet. He
Yeah.
was another one that kind of got me a kind of a good points tally there. The big question mark now is going to be most people have kind of, it's in near enough, not everybody, but a high percentage have Salah, Saka, and Palmer in their midfield. Saka now, it sounds as if it's going to be out for a while, so it'll be
Yeah.
very interesting. It's going to be a differential, I'd imagine, as to who people are going to go for to replace him, because there's possibly not another standout midfielder, that's consistent enough. There's ones like Bruno Fernandes, Anthony Gordon. There's a few kind of knocking around, but there's no one that's kind of potentially consistent enough to kind of say that they're definite. So you're going to have a lot of different differentials between people. So that will play a factor, I think, over the Christmas is who people go for instead of Saka, as he was one of the top kind of point scorers in the first half of the season so far. And it's just wondering, is there anybody else there that had? Yeah, Keenan Cunningham actually. He captained. He brought Isak in and captained him. Now we didn't have a great week overall, but I just seen that was another one there. He went for Isak as captain, got 34 points as well. So,
Would you
yeah,
be would you be confident of staying the course?
I think what happens is if you're in and around that kind of near the top of the league, because then what ends up happening is people use wildcards that are very similar teams. It's harder to make ground second
Right.
half of the season. Usually it's harder enough to make ground because most people's teams are similar. So you're talking maybe 3 or 4 players each week that maybe will make a difference here or there. So what you'll have is that people who are down the table will start taking risks on captains to try and make ground, because at the moment everyone is going to be captain Salah every week. So there's no even differential really
Yeah.
there with many. So it's I would imagine that, look, with the way my team is set up at the moment, if the likes of Liverpool, Chelsea, a few of the clubs at the top continue to do well, I always said at the start of the season, if Liverpool would do well, my fantasy football would do well, and that is the case at this point. I've had Salah since the very start. Didn't go down the Haaland route. I actually still see people with Haaland, and I don't understand why. Like, there's people in our group, whoever you are, I'm not going to name your names, but like he's nearly 15 million, and like I don't know, is he one goal in the last fucking 6 or 7 weeks? Like
Yeah.
he's a lot of money to be carrying unless you're hoping for a big turn in fortune. But look, it's very tight there at the top. There's only 30, 40 points between maybe first and seventh or eighth. So like there's very little in it. Wildcard will play into effect. And I don't know if you've seen there's a manager that there was a mystery chip given at the start of the season. So the mystery chip is going to be you get to pick a manager, and you have to use some of your funds though to fund it. So that'll be a bit of a mess for people to try and have the couple of pound. And then I can't remember exactly because I only read it vaguely, but basically it comes into effect. I think it's the middle of January, is it, or late January, and they can earn you points as well if your manager or team wins. You get points for the whoever manager you have as well.
Interesting.
Over the course of a couple of games, so that will also will factor into how things will turn out. But yeah, it's going well anyway. So far, so good. But like, as you said, we're not even halfway really there. Like, but
Yeah. I do
I'd rather
remember.
be. I'd rather be in first though than in fucking 60th. Put it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. What to call it? Just last season, I remember. I think at Christmas, a lad named Andrew Curley was top at Christmas, and then
Yeah.
he was. I think he ended up in second. Your brother bet him.
Mm-hmm.
Your brother only kind of made his move in April. Was it late April, maybe?
Yeah, but if you remember there was 3 or 4 that were around the top, and they were kind of there, as I just kind of mentioned. They were kind of in and around that first 4 or 5. There wasn't much between points-wise between them, but they were kind of nearly there. Most of them. There was not too many that fell off the kind of the wagon altogether and such. And like last season, it was nearly Haaland was the captain every week, and this season it's kind of Salah so far. So what you'd really, I suppose, want from the point of view is like if is either Haaland have a turn up in fortunes to kind of maybe make that. Will it be Haaland? Will it be Salah? Because at the moment, it's Salah and Palmer are probably the only two captain really options on a week to week basis. And even Palmer in the last couple of weeks kind of has he's slowed up a bit. He hasn't been hitting the numbers that Salah has. I think Salah's broke like records in not just I think in fantasy football numbers he's breaking records, not just in the Premier League at the moment. So long may that continue too.
We shall see. I think we're all in agreement anyways that we would love to see Daniel knocked off his perch. Okay.
So interesting enough, Declan, you weren't here the week that I had a poor week, which so far I probably potentially only really had one really bad one. I got 3 messages, and now since I've gone back to the top, no messages. What's going on there?
Really? Very good. Okay, we'll move on to Super Six. So,
Yeah.
and as well as what do you call it, fantasy football, the Coulter family is also leading the Super Six table. Funnily enough, Richard Coulter, Dan's brother, is leading this. I did get a message, what do you call it, there 2 days ago, asking was the Richard Coulter related to the Daniel Coulter, and I was able to tell you they are able to tell them they are related. So, Super
It's a
Six this
scam.
week.
It's a
A
scam.
scam. I'm sure a few people are thinking it.
Picks, yeah.
What do you call it? This also the Stephen's Day fixtures: Newcastle and Villa, Chelsea and Fulham, Forest and Spurs. So let me get the other ones. And
Southampton, West Ham,
like,
Wolves, and Man United, and Liverpool and Leicester.
cheers. Thanks, Moss. So Moss, we'll actually start with you. Wolves and United. What do you think?
Wolves under their new manager bounce after beating them. Ruud van Nistelrooy's Leicester 3-0 at home. I'm going to go 2-1 United because we badly need a win.
Fair
Ah,
enough. Fair enough.
you don't believe that though. I know why you don't believe
I
it.
don't believe it. No, not for a second. No, it
All
could
right.
be 7-4 for all I know. The way things are
Yeah.
ending.
Southampton and West Ham, Moss.
Southampton are at home and have been a bit more solid at the time. And I think their new manager is going to be in situ for this
Mm.
game at home. So West Ham can need a win. It kind of has written 1-1 draw written all over it, I think.
Yeah, Southampton are 6 points off, so I mean they need to start if they're going to stay up. They need to start getting points. Um, what do you call it? Dan, Liverpool and Leicester.
Yeah, just going on the last couple of results there, like Leicester are shipping goals. Some of them there, I don't know if any you seen it yesterday. Conceded against Wolves were so bad, and even the goalkeeping as well wasn't too hectic either. So I have a feeling that we could do a decent job on them, and it might be a happy Stevens Day for Dan and Co. So I've gone for 4-0. I think it could be. I think Liverpool could bang a few in
Oh,
potentially as well if they haven't munched too much of the Christmas turkey. I know 4-0.
all right, and Forest and Spurs.
What do I have here? I have 2-1 Forest. I think Forest will keep going, and I think it might pour a bit more misery onto Ange. So yeah, they're solid outfit Forest, and
Definitely.
yeah, I got 2-1 Forest.
Okay, Kieran, Chelsea and Fulham. Be a good game.
It will be a good game, and now London Derby, nice lack of traveling for fans in the city. Um, I didn't. I watched Fulham against Southampton. I didn't see a whole lot of promise in that against Southampton as well as all teams. So I'd have to put my money on Chelsea on that, especially after their draw against Everton. They want to get back on track and win again once they're at the top of the table.
Yeah.
So I'd go for, I suppose, 2-0 Chelsea on that one.
Okay, and then probably the game of the day will be Newcastle versus Villa. What do you think of that one?
I think there's going to be a great game. The form that Isaac is in, Tonali is back to his chiseled best. But then you have Aston Villa who are hot off the heels of their win against Man City as well. So I think it's very tough to call. Who's at home in that one? Newcastle.
Newcastle,
Newcastle,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to maybe punt then for Newcastle. Newcastle, I've betted against them in Paddy Power in the last few weeks, and they've come out winning both weekends. Isaac on hot form, so I'd have to learn my lesson and bet on Newcastle this time. Yeah, 1-0.
Very good.
Come here,
What a way to guarantee they lose, Kieran.
Yeah.
come here, is Duran now the number one at Villa? Do you reckon?
It's ahead of Watkins. I think so. Yeah,
So
very
On
good.
interesting. It's
current
always
form,
interesting
on
that
current form, he is like, but
yeah.
he plays the game like a man who learned the rules 5 minutes ago. He's just absolutely chaotic. Like
Mm.
you
Uh,
don't know what he's going to do. He could shoot from halfway. He could shoot from his own box for all he wants. So he just sees anything in the goal and has a go. So if Emery wants a bit more control and measure up front, he tends
yeah.
Mm.
to lean towards Watkins. And away at Newcastle, I wouldn't be surprised if he went for Watkins first choice.
Okay. Just before we finish up now, it's not on the list, but out of curiosity, City versus Everton. What do you think will happen there on Stephen's Day morning, so the half 12 kickoff?
Do you know what? Everton were fierce good away at Chelsea, or sorry, at home to Chelsea. I thought like it was a good, well contested game. Everton could have won that. I didn't see a whole lot of the Arsenal game, but they were well worthy of a point. I thought against Chelsea. So it probably for City, it's a horrible team to be coming to the
Yeah.
Etihad on Tuesday in current form because they just seem to be getting their they've a workman-like midfield that'll be dogged. They'll outrun and outwork City's midfield. I wouldn't rule out more misery.
Maybe we like
When
the
would you,
misery.
Dan? When would you?
Well, it was 2017 when Everton bet City 4-0 and all but was it 2017? Yeah, Pep's first season and all but finished Man City's title challenges that year, so we could see a repeat this year.
Our title
Yeah.
challenge is well and truly finished already, Kieran. I'll have you know. Moss and Kieran, what do you think?
Yeah, Everton, why not? Another 4-0 winning.
Moss?
I'm not going to back Everton. Like, I think they got lucky. Although, yeah, they created chances. Like, Pickford was chaotic, flying into tackles.
Chelsea had chances too. Yeah. They weren't Everton.
Being sent off. Like, I just think he's chaotic. You don't know what you're going to get with him.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he made some sort of colossal error that led to City taking the league and tipping away them. But look, City just needs to grind out a result and get a goal, and that solid Everton sitting back defense. It's Sean Dyche's a dream type of game where he can just defend, and hit you on the counter. So I lead towards City for a 1-0 win, scrape a win, but
fingers crossed. It's crazy.
It ain't going to be pretty, Deck.
No, absolutely not. Just the fact you're saying, scrape a 1-0 Manchester City home victory against Everton. But those are the times we are in. What do you call it? Before we finish up, thank you to all who are listening and watching. All who have subscribed on YouTube, following on Instagram, on Facebook, etc. What do you call it? For the fantasy football, the winner will get a jersey of their football club jersey of their choice, and for the winner of the Super Six, they will win €100 cash both at the end of the season. Kieran, why?
Same as always. You're all barking, no bite.
What are you talking about?
You're all talk, O'Connor.
If Dan wins the fantasy football, I got his brother a Liverpool jersey last summer, and I will do the same for Dan this year. And then for the Super Six, the three lads are coughing up the €100 for the eventual winner. Also, Dan's brother, probably. You're doing pretty well out of this, actually, just after thinking. Getting jerseys and money and everything.
Do you know that AI podcast? Wouldn't have any recommendations how to get someone knocked off the top of a fantasy football?
Yeah. I'll fire up the bots.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I was just saying that there's the Super Six thing though, like Richard actually first time ever doing it, and fuck me, like
it's
every
luck,
week
isn't it?
Every week he seems to just get scores right. Like I can't pick my nose in it. So I get the odd one now and again, but like I've given up hope in that anyway. I do them and I don't even really think about it. Just do them, but I haven't got anywhere near a decent couple of results in that. I do well to even get the actual result right. I think we were talking about that last week. It's the most unpredictable year. Like I had Fulham in the last man standing, the monk stand one. There were 20 people left.
4 left now,
and I looked at the weekend going, surely Fulham at home to Southampton. There you go. The new manager wasn't even in. It was the interim manager that was in, and Fulham had been flying, and there you go. There's only 4 left in the deck. That's right. Did you know any of the ones that are left? No, I said it on to you.
I do. I know Mark Fox. I played her many years ago. I don't know any of the others though.
But it's gone very quickly, that one. Like, that's the thing with that. That's people have been wiped out of that in a couple of weeks, really.
Yeah. All right, that will do us for this week, lads. I wish you all a very happy Christmas. Eat lots, drink lots, have fun, watch the football, and we will see. Are we on next week? We'll see. Give it a few days. I know 2 of you are up for it. We'll see about Howard. Kieran, you're not required next week. You're more of a gap filler more than anything else.
That's all right.
I'm only joking. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Cheers, folks. Happy Christmas.
All
right, lads. Have a good Christmas, and cheers to all who are listening, and happy Christmas to all. All right. Cheers. Good luck.
Look.